Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Hey there, everybody. This is Larry. Are you ready to transform your sales approach and build authentic relationships? I'd like to ask you a personal favor. Pre-order your copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World on barnesandnoble.com today. The book launches on August 13th, and your pre-order is crucial. By pre-ordering, you help us get the attention of stores like Barnes & Noble, building distribution and creating a successful launch as we spread this movement of authenticity. If every listener pre-orders, we will definitely get on the radar of Barnes & Noble. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to our special 12-episode private podcast, diving deeper into each chapter of the new book. Don't miss out. Click the link in the show notes to head over to barnesandnoble.com. Pre-order Selling in a Post-Trust World now and start your journey to authentic sales success. Remember, it's not just about selling. It's about selling from the heart.
Welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your co-host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
What isn't going on? I think everyone's going to be in for a treat with this one, Darrell. Great seeing you. I know you and I are going to have a good time with this one.
I am so excited. We've been talking about this for months and months now. This is the official launch episode of your new book, Larry, Selling in a Post-Trust World. Larry, you're the guest on this podcast, so I know it's going to be fun. We're going to take a deep dive into this book, why you wrote it, why you think it's so important, and most importantly, what all of us can do to build trust in this world. But as we get started, I just want to say a huge shout out to everybody in the Selling from the Heart community that has showed us pictures of holding up the Selling in a Post-Trust World book.
It's been pretty good, Darrell. There's been pictures after pictures. Look at that.
There's just a few of the folks out there. Of course, our good friend, Mike Weinberg. Thank you, Mike.
Because just real quick, Mike wrote an epic, as only Mike Weinberg can, forward to Selling in a Post-Trust World. Mike, you rock.
It's so cool. And by the way, if you're just listening on audio, we're scrolling through all these pictures of friends. And this is just a sampling because there have been so many of these that have shown up on social with people just smiling and holding their copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World. If you pre-ordered the copy, here's the great news. If you pre-ordered from Barnes & Noble, your copy will arrive soon. It releases officially on August 13th. So if you're listening before August 13th, you can look forward to seeing your copy here soon. If you're listening after August 13th, guess what? You can go as well, and you can get access to some bonus items we're going to tell you about when you go to Barnes & Noble and either pre-order or order. Depending on when you're listening to this podcast, you can get access to special bonus items. And the big one that I'm so excited about is we're putting together a special private podcast. This is an exclusive podcast. It's going to only have 14 episodes. And the reason it's going to have 14 episodes, Larry, is we're going to talk about each chapter. Yeah, each chapter of the book. We're going to take the book. We're going to unpack it, and we're going to go deeper into each chapter of the book, apply the principles. So it's going to be like taking the book. It's a perfect companion to the book. How do you get access to this podcast? Well, it's actually really simple. You go to sellinginapostrustworld.com. You order or pre-order your copy on Barnes & Noble, and I'll explain why that's important to us in just a moment. And then you'll get access to the podcast, and we'll be releasing that private podcast. And you'll get instructions in terms of how to access that. You can listen on your phone, and you'll get access to the private podcast, those 14 episodes. And it's going to be like taking a masterclass in Selling from the Heart. You'll be able to listen to it in your car as much as you want while you're walking. It's going to be fantastic. Larry, I'm excited. And Barnes & Noble, why Barnes & Noble? It's really simple. We want to expand our distribution of selling from the heart. We're all over the internet. You Google selling from the heart, selling in a post-trust world. You can buy us anywhere. Fine books are sold online, but we would really, really like to get the attention of the buyers at Barnes and Noble. So the more orders we can show them coming to their website, the more chance we have of getting this on the shelves, which I think would be a really, really cool thing for us to do as a movement together to spread this message. So Larry, this is going to be a fun episode because I don't have to introduce you.
Oh, come on, Darrell. If you really want to, I could have sent you my bio and you could have just read this big, great, terrific, awesome
I could give a bio for Larry Levine that would be different than any bio on any stage or podcast you've been introduced on, but I'm not going to do that. But what I will do is I want to ask you the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers as we begin this episode. And Larry, I think you know the question.
I know the question.
I think you've answered it before, but I'm going to take you full screen, Larry, as I ask you, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart?
Oh, what a great question, Darrell. But it's going to be short, but I'm going to unpack it because it's a favorite phrase we use here at Selling from the Heart. I really believe this. In order to sell from the heart, and what's it mean to me to sell from the heart? You got to give a rip. You just simply got to give a rip. But where it starts is you got to give a rip about yourself. You got to bring the best version of yourself forward. When you bring the best version of yourself forward, you start connecting and relating to your clients and your future clients in a completely different fashion. So when I think of selling from the heart, it's the ease, and a tip of the cap to you, Darrell, because your alliteration sickness wore off on me. To sell from the heart, besides giving a rip, means to educate, engage, excite like none other people into conversations. Watch what starts to happen as you soon connect head to heart. That's what it's all about, selling from the heart.
I love it. What a great answer. So fun. And it is so true that just the simple aspect of giving a rip, caring about the people that you serve is such a game changer. When it comes to selling and when it comes to building trust. So selling in a post-trust world, I think the title explains itself, but why a post-trust world? What's that mean? And why is that so critical to sales professionals in today's environment?
I really think today, look at where we're at. There's rampant skepticism. The BS meters for people are at an all-time high. There's more negativity thrown out at salespeople than positivity. And that's just room for improvement. And that's just being real here, Darrell. That just gives us the ability to say, you know what? What's in the back of everyone's head, whether they're going to believe this or not, is this person that I'm getting ready to engage in a conversation with? Is that somebody that I can trust? Is that somebody I can feel comfortable with? Is that somebody who's credible? Do they have my best interest at heart? These are the silent things that are going on in people's head. So in selling in a post-trust world, I hit this head on. On how you can build trust instantaneously with people.
You know, it was interesting as we were talking about this book early on, we followed the Edelman Trust Barometer. So they go out and they do surveys every year. So you got data, you can look back and see what we all know intuitively, and that is buyers are more skeptical than they've ever been. And I know as we go around, Larry, I always ask people, if we're talking to an audience, by show of hands, how many of you would say people are more trusting right now? They trust people more. They're less skeptical than ever. No hands go up. But when you ask how many people are that you encounter are more skeptical and are less trusting, obviously everyone's hands go up. What do you think it is that, without getting too philosophical here, what is causing buyers to be more skeptical and less trusting than they were, say, 10 years ago? What do you think some of the things that are happening that are pushing this reduction of trust?
I'll keep this really simple. They look at this as going, you know what? Forever and a day, salespeople have been all about me. It's been all about me, my company, my products. What can I get from you, instead of all about we? And in order to flip this to all about we, We got to start looking at this through a completely different set of lenses instead of shining the light on us. And I'm not here to cast a dark shadow or disrespect anyone in sales, because I love every aspect of sales. But we stopped shining the light on our clients and our future clients a long time ago because that light's been shining on us. And they know it. They've been in more horrible meetings than they've been in really good meetings. And so they're used to this. And I've always said this, Darrell, salespeople have done a wonderful job in training the buyers on how to position themselves with salespeople. They've done it. Salespeople, sales leaders, sales managers. A lot of the cause around this is directly looking in the mirror, but there's the opportunity to change the narrative and change the whole paradigm by simply shining the light on them, listening to them, valuing them, hearing them, seeing them, having their best interest at heart.
It's such a great answer, because I think the reflexive answer that someone would say automatically is, well, we got fake news. We got all this stuff in the internet that's not real. And that is true. But I think when it comes to selling in particular, that whole thing of how salespeople have approached them, and it's not about you, it's about all the other salespeople they've encountered up until this point, where they have been self-centered. They haven't given a rip. They've only given a rip about themselves. And as you said in Selling from the Heart, buyers can smell commission breath from a mile away. And so this whole building on the theme of Selling from the Heart about sincerity and really, really caring, authentically caring about the people that we serve is really critical to overcome this trust gap that's opened up inside interactions people have with sales professionals.
No, it's so true. And I remember years and years and years ago. In fact, Darrell, you were on this call when this happened. We were on a call, and this really brings to light selling in a post-trust world. But I'm going to narrow it down to a couple things. We were on a call, and this goes back probably 3-4 years ago. And I'll keep the company name out of this, but this person said at this company, you know what, we really do a really great job with product training, with sales skills training. But where we're really missing the boat, in this person's opinion, was this: what are we doing to develop the people skills and relationship building skills of our salespeople? Yeah. And the reason why I bring this up is, in order to overcome some of the things that you're going to uncover in selling in a post-trust world, we got to double down on people skills and relationship building skills. And this directly affects your opportunity to build trust. Is what are you doing? What are you doing on a daily basis to up my people skills and your relationship building skills to enhance and foster trust?
Yeah, we can talk about the basic sales skills, and those skills are important. They always will be, but they need to be delivered in a way. They need to be delivered with a heart, a mindset, a heart set that engenders trust rather than erodes it. And this is what I love about this book. And so on the cover, you can see the subtitle. If you haven't got the copy yet, it says, "Discover the soft skills that yield hard dollars." Now, I like this interplay between the soft skills and the hard dollars, because I think a lot of times, there's a tendency to go, "Oh, we just need to review we need to bring someone in to talk about prospecting again, or we need to work on our objection handling skills." But while those are important, it's not the whole game, especially in this world where trust is at an all-time low and skepticism reigns. We've got to work on these skills that are going to allow us to get through and build, cross this trust gap as quickly as possible, or all the traditional sales skills in the world are just going to fall flat. And I think what proves that out is the data that we see consistently, that over 50% of deals are stuck in pipelines now. That there is a massive problem of deals that get started but never get finished. And I believe that one of the biggest reasons for that is the failure to establish trust in that, and deals just go flat. And so these soft skills, they really do yield hard dollars.
Yeah. And you know what? And some people may poke holes at soft skills, Darrell, and say, well, they're not really soft skills, they're necessary skills, or these skills. It's just that people understand when you say soft skills, it just, we know what people are referring to. These are the people skills. These are the relationship building skills that you need. You need to layer in this in addition to all the things that you're doing in your company or by yourself around sales skills training, product training, and so forth. This is what's going to get you to exceed revenue goals. This is what's going to help you build profitability. And this is what's going to help you create long-term sales sustainability. It's how fast you all build trust. And it happens in the very, very, very first interaction.
It's extremely, extremely important. It starts right away and it continues through the whole relationship. And so one of the questions that was at the root of this whole book and where this all started, I remember,
I know
exactly where we were when this happened. We just had dinner the night before with our good friend, Dave Sanderson. He'd introduced us to now one of our great friends and one of my favorite authors, Don Barden. We'd had a great meal the night before and we got up the next morning and we were sitting there in a hotel lobby in Buckhead, Georgia, right? Just outside Atlanta. And we began thinking about, well, what does it take? Trust is the currency of sales. Look, no trust, no sale, right? You don't have any trust, you don't have a sale. And the more we have trust, the higher the probability of making a sale. And so we started asking ourselves, I remember exactly where we were. We should just bring a film crew there someday to that lobby. And we said, well, what are the components? If there were a formula, if we were to sit down and say, what would it take to build trust? That's where the heart of this book came from, which is a super practical formula for building and sustaining trust quickly. And that was so much fun having that conversation, Larry. Now, 2 or 3 years ago, I don't even remember the date of that. It's the fruit of it.
No, it's a little bit longer, but before we peel this back, I have to give even more of a backstory to this because it really plays out in why this book is where it's at right now. Is I remember having the question thrown at us.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing great work with selling from the heart. Selling from the heart's a feel-good brand. It's feel-good, right? People self-select them in. You don't have to convince anybody to do this. But let me tell you, Larry and Darrell, right?
Right.
You got to be able to look executives in the eyes and say, if you leverage the foundation of this book, Selling from the Heart, what is that going to do for my company?
That's right.
I remember as we said, well, it will help you build trust and credibility. And then thus this started playing out. But I wanted to give even more of a backstory to this because that's where we went to work and said, well, what can we do in a very easy, simplistic fashion? And if you've read Selling from the Heart, this is through the eyes of a practitioner. So this trust formula is through the eyes of a practitioner. Is we started just peeling this back and going, where do we all start? If we're going to build trust, where's the first part of this start with? And by the way, what's some easy formula that we can all come up with that's easy to remember, that's going to be catchy, that's going to get people to go, I get it. And thus the foundation of the book was formed, even though I hadn't even started writing the book yet, Darrell.
Well, it was so cool how that all came together. And really, this is the natural progression of selling from the heart, where you made the case on how your authentic self sells you. Now we wanted to move to something really practical and tangible on, okay, how do you take that and actually use it to build trust? And I want to share, if you're watching on YouTube, and by the way, if you're not watching on YouTube, go ahead and click
over and watch it on YouTube.
We'd love for you to subscribe on YouTube when you go over there. We've got an incredible resource, body of resources over there for you, including every episode of the podcast, at least for the last 4 or 5 years. It's really, really fun treasure trove. But if you look at this, we came up with this trust formula, and I'm putting it up here on the screen, but I'll read through it for those who are, we'll work our way through it for those listening in on our audio podcast. The first 2 parts of the trust formula, I like to call the 2 sides of the trust coin. Unpack that for us, Larry. Authentic relationships and meaningful value, how those play into building trust.
When we start thinking about authentic relationships, here's what I want us to start thinking about. It's who you know. How many people, and this is where I'm going to ask everyone to put on their thinking cap for a moment. As we start building authentic relationships, whether this be in your clients or your future clients, the simple question is, what do you know about these people personally and professionally? And how many people do you know? And I'm going to ask you, you got to cast this net high, wide, and deep. Go beyond just the friendlies, as I call it. You got to get to know upper level management and leadership, mid-level management, lower level management. You got to get to know key influencers. The more you know, the more you grow. The more relationships you have in these accounts, the better off you'll be, because in Selling from the Heart, I write about it. If you want to have a never flowing sales funnel, you got to build a never flowing relationship funnel. The first leg of the trust formula, authentic relationships, and that's who you know. But the other part of this is what we call here at Selling from the Heart, meaningful value. In my terminology, this is business smarts, business goods. You got to bring what I call conversation to the meat bone. For the food lovers that are out there, you got to build these authentic relationships, but you got to bring conversations to the forefront in a different way. High business acumen, business conversation. That means you have to become educated. You got to bring something to the table that at the end of that conversation, they go, you know what? I was a whole lot smarter now than I was, insert however long ago you have these conversations. Authentic relationships and meaningful value are two very important pieces to the trust formula, Darrell.
Yeah, they're like the two sides of the trust coin. You can't have one without the other. If you've got lots of authentic relationships, but you're not able to bring the meaningful value, to have that, like put the meat on the bone, right? You just really got to bring, if you're not able to bring it, you got authentic relationships. I like to say you're going to have lots of people to go to lunch with, but you're going to have to ask them to buy you lunch because you're going to be
either that or you're dining and dashing.
Yeah. Yeah. Neither one of those is good. But and the flip side is if you're somebody who's got lots of substance, business acumen, you know your product, you know the industry, you know how to talk about business, all the components of meaningful value, but you're not able to build authentic relationships, you're going to be the smartest guy in the room, the smartest gal in the room. But guess what? No one's going to trust you because without a level of authenticity, it's really going to hurt you. When it comes to building trust. So you got to get both of those things going at the same time. Same coin, authentic relationships, flip it over, meaningful value. And these are the components of the trust coin. But the cool thing about the trust formula in the book, and by the way, I just want to mention for those who are just joining in, if you want to get access to this book, along with some incredible bonus items when you pre-order on barnesandnoble.com, go to sellinginapostttrustworld.com, sellinginapostttrustworld.com. There's some bonus items there. There's access to an exclusive private podcast that Larry and I are going to be launching throughout the fall that'll go deeper into the 14 chapters where we'll talk about authentic relationships, meaningful value. Those two sides of the trust coin are there, but there's some multipliers in this formula. Yeah, you've got to have authentic relationships plus meaningful value. But what I like are these force multipliers. And the first one of these force multipliers to me is the fun one. This is where we get to have a lot of fun. So unpack, Larry, for us.
In inspirational experiences, and I think that this is, like you said, Darrell, this is the force multiplier. In inspirational experiences, this is how you show up. This is jet fuel. This is what's going to keep people coming back for more and more and more of what you're delivering. And it's so interesting when I start asking people, when you think of a customer experience, how would you describe it? And there's a reason why I'm asking this, because in some instances, we can have a negative customer experience or a positive customer experience. But when I ask people to describe an inspirational experience, it's hard to go negative. Leaders out there, and I believe salespeople are leaders, they inspire and influence people to see and achieve things they couldn't believe they could do on their own. How's this all play out? People will pay handsomely for an experience. They will pay even more for an inspirational experience. This is how you show up. Each and every one of you who are either watching or listening, y'all are responsible for how you show up. And I'm going to ask you all to double down on this. How are you showing up to inspire your clients or your future clients into doing better business. And this is the jet fuel to building authentic relationships and meaningful value, Darrell.
Wow. I can't wait till we get on the private podcast to unpack this some more, because there's so much here. Your company may, have incredible processes, an incredible brand, do things well, but you're, as a sales professional, we've got the opportunity to create experience like nobody else does. And the better we do at that, the more we're going to set ourselves apart from competition. Competition in a world where a lot of industries, buyers look at your competition and they all kind of look the same as you. So the inspirational experience is critical, but the last component of the trust formula may not be as fun, but it's something that we've got to talk about. And that last component is the disciplined habits, Larry, the disciplined habits of an authentic selling professional.
And this is the glue. If let's just look at the whole trust formula just for a moment. I'll expand on disciplined habits really quick. But if we look at authentic relationships, meaningful value, and inspirational experience and disciplined habits as 4 legs to a chair, if I remove disciplined habits out of this, it's almost impossible to sit in that chair without that chair falling over. Disciplined habits is the glue, because without bringing discipline to the forefront, consistency, self-accountability, and radical amounts of this, then you're inconsistently bringing authentic relationships, meaningful value, and inspirational experience to the forefront. Disciplined work or disciplined habits is tough. But guess what? In order to become that sales professional, you got to do some work. And it may not be fun work sometimes. It's the necessary work, Darrell.
Absolutely. And so this is the one, this is this is so critical. I mean, the way to erode trust is to be inconsistent. The way to build trust is to be consistent in terms of building the relationship, the value, the experience. So this all comes together really, really nicely. And that's why I'm so excited about this book, because in here, you talk about meat on the bone. There's a lot of meat on the bone here. Sorry for any vegetarians listening in. There is a lot of substance, let's just say it that way, in this book that is really going to help people. And we know this because of what we're hearing back from people that got early pre-order editions. And it's so cool to hear stories of people applying this. And these are the soft skills, the real important skills that are yielding real results, hard dollars. We're seeing it. And that's why I'm so excited to get this book in the hands of as many people in this sales profession we all love, as well as the executives that lead sales teams. I'm so excited for this book. Larry, this is an incredible gift to the world that you've put together here.
No, I really appreciate it. It was years in the making. This one was, in selling from the heart, that kind of the podcast and the book built this movement, kind of put us on the map, so to speak. Selling in a post-trust world takes this to the 10th degree. And I just have to share a quick success story. Not too long ago, we do a lot of work in very highly relational, trust-based sales industries. Some of these are blue collar in nature. And about a year or so ago, we had a company start waving the flag around selling from the heart and was willing to test pilot out the whole concepts in selling in a post-trust world. They were like the first small little test pilot sales team in this really large, well-known company to wave their hand and say, hey, I'm all in. And we coached them. I coached them on the 4 facets of the trust formula. Fast forward a year later, one of the salespeople that was in it was at beginning was the Debbie Doubter. There's always Debbie Doubters out there. Yes. But they silently started taking notes. And I have to refer to my notes on this one. But in 1 year of implementing the foundations of this book, this person shot up the ranks to become the number 1 salesperson on their team. Their team's got 75 salespeople. This person increased their revenue in 1 year, 23.93%. That was a $1.4 million increase just in revenue. We won't talk about anything else, just in revenue, by applying the 4 facets of the trust formula and how this person accelerated their sales growth in 1 year.
And that's just one of many stories starting to come back from individuals and sales teams around this. And it's so fun to be on the other side of those conversations where companies have recognized and individual sales professionals have recognized, hey, if I can work on building trust and sustaining trust, it's going to be a win across the board. So thank you, Larry, for putting the time in to write this book. I get the behind the scenes.
You got the sneaky peek the whole time, Darrell. I
got to see all the work and the sweat and toil. I mean this sincerely. It's a lot of work to write a book. And I watched you pour your heart into this thing. And there was a little complaining along the way, but
hey, really quick. I got to tell everyone, cat's out of the bag on this one. Darrell knows it. I shelved this book for almost a year, and Darrell knows it.
Yep.
I shelved this thing because I got cold feet. I got imposter syndrome and all that. But finally, after several conversations, I just had to put my big boy pants on, and I blew the dust off of this. And I just made a commitment to bring this to the forefront. And I love Selling from the Heart, but I actually really love this book. This book goes deep, let me tell you.
Yeah, so I'm grateful. And I know the people that have got this book are grateful. And so I want to make an ask. I'm going to make the same ask I made at the beginning. It would be so exciting to see the distribution of this book grow, possibly even to the bookshelves of the largest book retailer here in the United States. How do we do it? Well, we got to get their attention. There's no other way around that. So every copy of Selling from the Heart that you buy, especially when you buy it from our friends at Barnes and Noble, even if you don't normally shop there, I want to just make the ask on behalf of Larry. Go grab a copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World at Barnes and Noble. And right now, we're going to give you access for a limited time to the Selling in a Post-Trust World private podcast. It's going to be high quality. It's going to be high enough quality that down the road, we will charge for that because it's going to be worth it. But as a thank you for going to Barnes and Noble, ordering the book, and then you just go to Selling in a Post-Trust World, put your order number in, and you'll get access to that podcast. You'll have a front row seat to how to implement this book. And that's in exchange for really, really helping Larry take this message to the world. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that's helped us put this book together. We've got our friends at Morgan James Publishing. A huge shout out to David Hancock and the whole sales team out there that's representing this book. A shout out to our team at Selling from the Heart that's promoting this everywhere. It's just so fun seeing this go. And I'm excited about this. I'm thankful for this book. And I can't wait to see the stories that come in the months and years to come as people recognize that, hey, it is a post-trust world, and we've got to learn how to build trust in this environment if we want to be successful.
Absolutely. And Darrell knows this. I don't like toot my own horn. I don't. It's just not me. I'm massively uncomfortable in doing it. But I just want to say thank you. This has been a journey like none other. Our friendship, Darrell and I's friendship, it goes back decades. And I've shared this with Darrell many times. I'm going to publicly share it again. I owe Darrell everything because he believed in me a long time ago. I made one phone call to Darrell. Darrell, you know where I'm going with this, but I made one phone call, and Darrell saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And if it wasn't for that phone call, I don't even know if Selling from the Heart would be here today. I'm grateful to Darrell Amy for being not only my podcast partner, my business partner, deep friendship. I love you. I love everybody out there who has supported this whole movement. I mean, it just warms my heart every day to have people waving the flag and what the books meant and what Selling in a Post-Trust World has meant. I didn't expect any of this to happen. It just happened. But it's just two good guys bringing a much needed message to the forefront. You're in this with me, Darrell. It's not just
Absolutely.
My book. You're in this with me. Thank you to everyone. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Larry, and thank you for taking action and doing this. And none of this happens without the Selling from the Heart community. And that's you listening in. So thank you for being a part of this. Thanks for helping us spread the word. When you get your copy from Barnes and Noble, we'll send you an email reminder, but do us a favor and snap a picture of yourself smiling with this book, because this is going to help a ton of people. We're back to our regular episodes next week, and we've got an incredible roster of guests coming up. I just can't wait for people to hear the episodes that are rolling out here in the next month. So make sure you're subscribed, and thank you everybody who is leaving a review on the podcast platform on which you listen. Larry, as we wrap, any final words of wisdom on selling in a post-trust world?
No pearls of wisdom, just the ask. Go to sellinginapostrustworld.com and secure your pre-order at Barnes & Noble.
All right. Well, till next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust. Get your copy of Selling in a Post-Trust World, and most of all,
sell from the heart.